Have you ever looked at a robot and genuinely couldn't tell if it was a person? Not in the movie, but in real footage in front of a live audience. That moment is happening right now in China.
We've always wanted our robot to feel familiar.
While most of the world is still trying to build robots that can walk without falling, China is engineering humanoids that hold eye contact and in one case wore a real woman's face in front of 1 billion people and nobody could tell the difference.
The Hobbs W1 is a wheeled humanoid service robot introduced by the Beijing company Noetics, designed with a distinctly female form factor.
Today I'm going to show you 6 of China's most human-like robots of 2026. Stay until the end because the final entry performed live in front of more than 1 billion people, and what those robots did on that stage sent a message the entire world is still processing. In Shanghai, a company called DroidUp just revealed a humanoid named Moya, and the first thing people noticed wasn't how fast it moved or how strong it was the way it looked at you. In footage shared by the South China Morning Post, you see Moya holding steady, eye contact during a conversation, nodding at the right moments and smiling slightly in a way that doesn't feel triggered. It feels responsive. DroidUp calls it the world's first fully biomimetic embodied intelligent robot. And the idea behind that phrase is more specific than it sounds. Moya isn't built around performing human behavior on command. It's built around embodied artificial intelligence, which means the system perceives, reasons, and acts within the physical world in real time, rather than executing instructions from a fixed program. The difference between those two things is exactly what you're watching in the footage. Most humanoid robots are built around capability, what they can lift, how fast they can walk, how many tasks they can complete. DroidUp asked a different question entirely. They asked what it would take for a robot to exist in human space without triggering the part of your brain that immediately flags it as a machine. And the answer started with the body. Moya stands 1.65 meters tall and weighs just 32 kilograms, proportions close to those of an average adult, but engineered unusually light. That low weight isn't a compromise, it's what keeps every movement fluid, because less mass means less inertia fighting each step, and less inertia is exactly what separates motion that looks natural from motion that looks mechanical. But if the proportions give Moya its human silhouette, it's the face that makes people stop scrolling. DroidUp says the robot reproduces human micro-expressions, those tiny shifts around the eyes and cheeks and mouth that people read subconsciously before they've consciously registered anything. Most robotics companies skip this entirely because the timing is extraordinarily difficult to get right. And when it's even slightly off, the face reads as unsettling rather than natural. Moya's walking posture is measured at 92% accuracy compared to actual human movement. And that number isn't about balance or avoiding falls. It's about naturalness, the quality that makes your brain stop tracking mechanics and start responding to the presence in front of you as if it were a person. There is one detail in the footage though that changes how people physically respond to Moya, and it has nothing to do with the face or the walk. When someone reaches out and touches its hand, it isn't cold, it isn't plastic, it's warm. DroidUp engineered Moya to maintain a surface temperature between 32 and 36 degrees Celsius, the same range as human skin. That single decision changes everything about how a person instinctively processes what they're standing next to, because cold is the one thing that breaks the illusion instantly, no matter how perfect everything else is. Online reactions split sharply. Some viewers were fascinated, while others described it as unsettling, which has a name in robotics: the uncanny valley. Most companies avoid it by making robots look clearly mechanical. DroidUp is trying to cross it entirely. One open question remains about what sits underneath Moya. According to Robo Horizon, it appears to be built on a Walker 3 chassis, though neither DroidUp nor UB Tech, the company normally associated with that name, has confirmed any connection. DroidUp is targeting healthcare, education, and high-end hospitality, and Moya enters the market by late 2026 at 1.2 million yuan. But the next robot on this list was designed to look human from a distance, and it worked so convincingly that its own CEO had to undress it on camera to prove it wasn't a person. At Xpeng's 2025 AI Day in Guangzhou, a robot walked onto the stage that nobody could agree on. The movement was fluid and gentle, with a catwalk-like stride that CEO He Xiaopeng described as highly human-like. Within minutes of the footage spreading online, over half of viewers on Chinese social media were convinced a real person was hidden inside the suit. The skepticism was so widespread that He Xiaopeng released a video physically unzipping the robot's back on camera, exposing the artificial muscle structure beneath the skin, the harmonic joints in the hands, and the embedded electronics running through the frame. The proof had to be visual because words weren't convincing anyone. So what produced a walk convincing enough to start a national controversy? Xpeng's design philosophy for iron starts from a concept they call born from within.
Instead of using simple rotational joints, we designed a structure that's more like a real human spine.
Most humanoid robots are designed from the outside in, building a mechanical structure and then covering it. Iron works in the opposite direction. It has a humanoid spine engineered for natural torso bend, bionic muscles running through the frame, and fully covered flexible skin that supports customization for different body shapes, including male and female form. That internal architecture is what produces the movement, because when the spine bends naturally and the muscles drive the motion from the core, the whole body moves together the way a person's does, rather than a rigid upper body sitting on top of moving legs. The hands are where the engineering gets particularly precise. Iron uses the industry's smallest harmonic joint to achieve a 1-to-1 hand-size ratio compared to a human hand, with 22 degrees of freedom per hand. That level of dexterity allows it to handle delicate objects like eggs while also managing heavier tasks, which is the combination most humanoid hands sacrifice one side of to achieve the other. With 82 degrees of freedom throughout the body, iron can execute catwalk walking and other high-difficulty human-like movements naturally and smoothly. Behind all of that is serious computational power. Iron runs on 3 Turing AI chips, delivering 3,000 TOPS of effective computing power, and it's the first humanoid to be equipped with Xpeng's first-generation physical world large model. That model combines 3 AI systems: VLT for autonomous decision-making, VLA adapted from Xpeng's self-driving car division, and VLM for visual language understanding, creating what Xpeng describes as 3 high-order intelligences covering conversation, walking, and interaction simultaneously. The VLT model is particularly significant because it was built specifically for robots rather than adapted from existing AI, designed to enable deep thinking and autonomous decision-making in the physical world rather than just responding to commands. Iron also introduces what Xpeng calls a 4th law of robotics, extending Asimov's original 3 laws with a privacy principle that all data collected by the robot stays on the robot and never leaves it. For a machine designed to operate in hotels, shopping malls, and commercial spaces, that commitment addresses a concern most companies haven't publicly acknowledged yet. Xpeng has established an embodied intelligence data factory in Guangzhou, specifically to solve the training data shortage that is holding back the entire humanoid industry. The company is also opening Iron's SDK to global developers to build a shared application ecosystem around the platform. Bao Steel, one of China's largest steel producers, has already signed on as an ecosystem partner, deploying iron for inspection tasks in complex industrial environments. He Xiaopeng has stated that by the end of 2026, Xpeng aims to achieve large-scale mass production of high-level humanoid robots, with commercial deployment focused initially on guided tours, shopping assistance, and traffic management. Someone online summed it up best. We got robot grandmothers before GTA 6. Beijing-based Noetix Robotics spent 3 months building a robot replica of Chai Ming, one of China's most beloved comedic actresses, for a live skit at the 2026 Spring Festival Gala. And the process didn't start on a factory floor. It started with a full facial and body scan, followed by motion reference sessions, where engineers studied exactly how Chai Ming moved, spoke, and timed her expressions. From that data, they digitally reconstructed her likeness and tuned the digital twin to match her speech patterns, microexpressions, and comedic timing before a single physical component was fabricated. Then came the build. The team 3D printed a skull and covered it in high elasticity platinum silicone skin. The head was constructed on Noetix's Hobbs 3 platform, with 32 degrees of freedom controlling eyebrows, eyelids, cheeks, lips, and jaw independently. Parallel teams handled wardrobe and makeup, while an onboard AI system synchronized speech and facial movement in real time, so the face wouldn't just look like Kai Ming, it would react like her. The skit itself added a layer that made the whole thing stranger than it sounds. In the story, a grandson brings humanoid robot helpers to assist his grandmother at home, only to discover that she already has an android replica of herself. The audience watching at home was experiencing the same confusion as the character in the skit trying to work out which version was real. The skit aired live to over 1 billion viewers. The android version of Tai Ming performed on stage alongside the real actress, and the audience at home could not consistently tell which was which. Not because of low camera resolution or clever staging, but because the gap between a person's face and a machine wearing that person's face had become smaller than what a television broadcast could reveal. What makes this more than a television stunt is the platform behind it. Noetix was only founded in 2023, and alongside high-end builds like the Tai Ming Android, the company also makes humanoids like Boomy, priced from around $1,300. The same startup operating at both ends of that range tells you something about how quickly this technology is scaling and in how many directions simultaneously. But if Noetix replicated a specific person's face precisely enough to fool 1 billion viewers, the next company on this list is working on something harder. They're not copying a face, they're building one that reads yours. A headform was founded by a Columbia University researcher named Hu Yuhang, and his approach to the face problem started years before the company existed. His earlier robot, called Emo, could predict a human smile 840 milliseconds before it happened and mirror it back in real time. That robot went viral, not because of what it could do physically, but because of what it implied. If a machine can anticipate your expression before you've made it, the interaction stops feeling like you're operating a device and starts feeling like something else entirely. The ELF V1 takes that research and turns it into a product. It has 30 artificial facial muscles, each driven by a brushless micromotor precise enough to animate bionic skin without visible mechanical delay. Those muscles don't run preset expressions on a timer. They detect what the person in front of the robot is actually feeling and respond with low enough latency that the reaction doesn't register as a reaction. It registers as presence. The whole system is backed by large language models and vision language models working together. So the robot isn't just mirroring expressions, it's processing what you're saying, reading how you're feeling, and generating a response that connects both. The silicone skin itself is magnetically attached, meaning it can be swapped for customization or maintenance without disassembling the underlying system. Most humanoid faces have a fixed smile and a neutral default state, and your brain catches on almost immediately because nothing behind them connects to what's actually happening in the conversation. The ELF V1 is built specifically to close that gap, with expressions that China's state broadcasters CGTN described as nearly identical to those of humans. A headform is targeting companionship, customer service, and healthcare. Every environment where the quality of the emotional exchange determines whether the interaction actually helps. The founder told the South China Morning Post that synthetic humans barely distinguishable from real people are closer than most realize, and that within 10 years, humans can interact with robots almost as peers. That prediction sounds extreme, until you consider that he already built a prototype of that future, and it's sitting in a lab in Shanghai right now. But if a head form is solving the face from the inside out, the next robot made its most important statement somewhere no face could help it, in the middle of a frozen wilderness at minus 47 degrees. The Unitree G1 is described on its own product page simply as a humanoid agent AI avatar, priced from $13,500.
This is the Unitree G1, and as you can tell, it's a little shorter than some of the other humanoid robots out there, but I think that's what makes it special. So let's get into some of the details right now.
That description undersells it significantly. It stands 132 centimeters tall, weighs around 35 kilograms, and depending on configuration, runs between 23 and 43 joint motors with a maximum knee joint torque of 120 Newton meters. It carries a depth camera, 3D LiDAR, a 4-microphone array, and an 8-core processor, all powered by a 9,000 milliamp hour quick-release battery that delivers around 2 hours of operation. Unitree describes its movement as driven by imitation and reinforcement learning, meaning the robot doesn't just execute fixed programs. It learns from observation and improves through experience. In 2025, it became the world's best-selling humanoid robot, with over 5,500 units shipped globally. But the moment that defined what the G1 actually represents happened far from any product page or trade show. Engineers sent a unit into China's Altai region in the middle of winter, into conditions reaching minus 47.4 degrees Celsius. That is the kind of cold where exposed skin freezes in minutes, lubricants in mechanical joints thicken to the point of failure, and most electronics stop working entirely. The robot walked more than 130,000 steps across compacted ice, tracing the precise geometric outline of a Winter Olympics emblem measuring 186 meters long and 100 meters wide. That's not a straight line endurance test. That's precise path following across uneven, frozen terrain without a single human correction from start to finish. Engineers dressed it in an insulated jacket and fitted protective covers over its lower limb joints to stop the actuators from freezing mid-stride. Positioning ran through China's Beidou satellite system at centimeter level accuracy. It completed the entire route without stopping. When a machine priced at $13,500 survives conditions that would incapacitate a human being and does it while executing geometric precision across 130,000 steps, the conversation about what these robots can actually be used for starts expanding in directions that go well beyond hospital lobbies and shopping malls. But if the G1's defining moment was about what these machines can survive alone, the next entry is about something with even further reach. The moment robots stopped being a technology story in China and became a cultural one. The same company that built a robot replica of Taiming for the Spring Festival Gala didn't stop there. A few weeks earlier, Notix had already unveiled something they called their most human-like robot to date, and it wasn't built for a one-night television appearance. It was built for every day. The Hobbs 1 is a service humanoid with a skin-toned, expressive face, a black bob hairstyle, and a metallic silver body shaped in an ankle-length skirt silhouette. Notix describes it as a professional scene all-rounder, and the design reflects exactly that intention.
The Hobbs W1 is a wheeled humanoid service robot introduced by the Beijing company Noetics, designed with a distinctly female form factor.
The face is built on the same Hobbs 3 platform used for the Taiming android, with 32 active degrees of freedom and 12 degrees of freedom in the mouth alone, making it the highest performing bionic human face in mass production anywhere in the world, according to Notix. The facial material is a specially formulated silicone that stretches and moves with the expression rather than against it, giving it a natural stretchability that most synthetic skins lack. An onboard audio two-face algorithm drives expressions in real time from speech, so the face doesn't just move while the robot talks, it reacts to what it's saying. But if the face is what makes people stop and look, it's the hands that make Hobbs W1 actually useful. Most service robots interact through screens and speech alone. Hobbs W1 has 5 degree of freedom arms and 6 degree of freedom hands, capable of natural gestures, object handovers, pressing buttons, opening doors, and basic pick-and-place tasks. That combination of a human-like face with working hands is what separates it from social robots that can only talk and service robots that can only act. It operates in the space between both. Autonomous navigation allows it to map and move through complex indoor environments without human guidance, and its social interaction layer handles real-time facial emotion recognition, natural conversation, and information synchronization simultaneously. Noetics is already deploying Hobbs W1 in museums, government halls, corporate offices, and hospitality environments across China. The commercial logic is straightforward. Imagine walking into a supermarket and asking where a product is. Hobbs W1 doesn't just tell you, it walks you to the shelf, reaches out and hands you the item. And if you want to buy it, you scan the QR code on its chest screen to pay. That sequence, which feels futuristic to describe, is already operationally possible with hardware that exists today. Noetics was only founded in September 2023 and has already secured around $42 million in pre-Series B funding. Its product range now runs from Boomy, a child-sized humanoid priced at $1,400, all the way up to custom Android builds like the Xpeng Replica. A company operating at that range simultaneously, less than 3 years after founding, tells you something about the pace at which this industry is moving in China right now. But if Hobbs W1 represents what human-like robots look like in daily commercial deployment. The final entry on this list showed what they look like when the pressure is maximum in front of the largest live audience on Earth. 6 robots, 6 different ways China is closing the gap between machine and person. These aren't prototypes. They're already deployed in hospitals, hotels, shopping malls, and government halls right now. The question is no longer whether robots can look human. That's been answered. The question is, how long before you stop noticing the difference? Drop your answer in the comments and subscribe for more.